Hey crew, it's Pitt, and welcome to I Know My Type. We're going to be digging into Elon Musk today. We're going to be typing him out and see what he's got going on, in hopes that we can help you to better understand yourself. That is the goal of this channel, and what we're doing with the MBTI system. And the reason that I changed it is so that we can help ourselves. I use this to help me. I'm hoping that you can use it to help you. The way that we do this is quite simple. It's a lot less complicated than some of the other systems. Uh, People are one of two things. They are either things or ideas, uh, which means that they are dealing in the physical or they are dealing in the idea realm. They either gather new things or ideas, or they organize old things or ideas. They do this for themselves or for the tribe first. They do this by either being controlling of the situation and making sure that it follows this rigid structure, or by being very flexible around it and fitting things in where they can get. That is controller movement. And the direct or informative is either using the least amount of words that you possibly can, and be reasonable in conversation, or uh, taking conversations off into directions that they didn't necessarily start out in, or circling around and giving the same point 4 times in a row, hammering the same thing. That is informative. That is giving more or keeping as much as possible. That is how we type. We'll get into the a little bit more. I've got a whole video on how to type, but we're going to type Elon Musk here and see what's up. Let's go.
Blocked to
This is just a random point in the Babylon Bee interview.
file your taxes. Like, could they handle your case?
My taxes are actually not that complicated. I do
Okay. Taxes are not that complicated, seems to be idea, right?
not have any
Anything dealing with complexity is probably going to be idea, unless you're talking about like physical gears interlocking.
offshore accounts. I don't have any sort of tax shelters. I have basically Tesla and SpaceX.
And so he gave you the idea. He's like, it shouldn't be that complicated. Here's why. So he's using physical things to support the idea that he has told you, right? The idea. It shouldn't be that hard as an organized idea.
Stock, and Tesla is publicly traded, so all information is public. And SpaceX is, a C corp that is audited. It has outside auditors, so it'll with outside investors. So it is. They're also. Everything is extremely transparent. There are no elaborate sort of tax avoidance schemes or anything like that. So H&R Block could easily do my taxes. I don't need H&R Block. I could do it.
Yeah.
So there's very much a organized, like he's using evidence to support his idea there.
I'm probably taking a few hours to do my taxes.
And also he is very self-focused in that, right? He's like, I can do it. Like, I don't need the tribe. I can do this. I don't need the tribe. I can do this. So that's very giving me a self kind of vibe. And he's also giving me a control kind of vibe, because I don't need the tribe. I can do it. I'm very much in control of this situation. Everything is very transparent. We are following this very rigid structure in order to make sure that everything is transparent. Very much a control vibe there.
This is very basic.
Did you sell that?
And the cadence that he speaks in, as well as what he's saying, is very direct.
That stock in Tesla because of the Twitter poll?
In part.
Had you made up your mind that you were already going to do that before the Twitter poll?
I have some Tesla options that are expiring next year. So I needed to exercise those options no matter what.
It's very interesting considering this is December 21st, 2021, right? So we're into 2022. This was a few months ago, but like this is the year where they expire. And now he's buying Twitter. I just saw that it seems to be a little bit firmer, but it's still not a done deal as of the recording of this video. And we'll see what goes on with that. But there's his reason. and it is a very self reason, and it's not a tribe reason for getting Twitter.
And I was like, okay, I'll move forward and exercise those options. So that certainly would be part of it, no matter what. But then over and above that, I sold incremental stock to try to get up to the 10% level. So just the option exercise alone would not get to 10%. So I sold stock that should be roughly make my total Tesla share sale roughly 10%.
So he's bringing it down to a very strict. He's using a very rigid guideline there, right? Like, this is his baby. Tesla is his baby. He brought this up from the ground. He's the reason that it's known. And he's getting it down to 10% of his investments because that is a very rigid thing that he holds for himself. That idea is firmly fixed, right? And he's using the SE, like, here's the reason why, but this idea is fixed.
Most annoying thing in the world, people asking you questions like this about your personal finances. Hey, no one ever asks me what stock I'm selling or why I made so much money last year. I mean, I'm the third richest man on my street, which is pretty good. Pretty good.
I mean, I'm not sure it's all that productive or interesting.
Very much control. I don't see why this is I don't see why the tribe should be involved in this in the slightest little bit. I really don't. The chin stroking, control. Like, that is very much I'm trying to maintain a little bit of control in a very uncomfortable situation. Not only did they ask him about his taxes, right? That's where we came in. Then they asked him about selling his shares for the thing. Then they make a joke about being the richest man. And now they're asking him how he feels about that. They're asking somebody who has given us nothing but control vibes how he feels about something. Watch, he's going to get defensive over this. Like, I'm thinking that he's going to be an INTJ. Like, that's the direction I'm leaning. And so he's going to get very defensive over them asking him how he feels. Because, number one, he's not entirely sure that INTJ is going to be an FI child. And he's not entirely sure, right? That's still something that is maturing, like it will be maturing for his entire life. And so he's not entirely sure how he feels about situations. He's very facts-based, very much in control of the situation, following rigidity. So feelings doesn't really play into it. But when he's pressed on his feelings, he's going to get very defensive. If he was a TI child, right, and somebody was pressing him on his thoughts, he's going to get very defensive. Well, they're pressing him on his feelings. I want to see if he gets defensive. That's going to be a confirmation for what I'm already thinking.
You know, essentially all of my net worth is just in SpaceX and Tesla stock. These two companies that...
That's a defensive measure. He's justifying. Well, really, it's only in this, right? That's his justification. That is getting defensive.
That I helped create.
And I helped create it. Again, defensive.
And have run.
And have run. Again, defensive. Like, I don't blame him. Like, he's responding as a FI child would. And so he's very defensive when they press him on his feelings. They can ask him about his ideas all day long. They can ask him about the evidence, and he's going to get a little iffy. But they start asking him about his feelings. Come on now.
For now almost 20 years, have done.
And that was using the SE to back up his NI, right? Like, I've run this for 20 years. Like, that's two solid SEs to back up the idea.
A lot of useful things. SpaceX is the...
Very defensive in this. Like, he's not overly like, Arr! Defense is not always like that. That is a justification defense. Well, this is why. And he's very uncomfortable why he's doing it. This is a very good example of an FI job.
Launches more payload to orbit than the rest of the world combined.
Again, another reason.
Has a global internet system called Starlink, and is the primary provider, well, the only U.S. provider of astronaut transport to the space station.
This is FI child all day long. Like, he's using his SE, right? He's using it as justification for his ideas about the way he feels about it. It's awesome. This is a very good INTJ.
We publish 6 to 8 satire articles a day.
Way to defuse. Way to defuse. Like, they're all very uncomfortable. Like, you can tell how, like, if you have any F in you at all, you can tell how uncomfortable that made him. And some of us really don't like people to be uncomfortable unjustly.
Some of them are funny. So that's, I mean, pretty good.
So SpaceX, it transports U.S. And as well as non-U.S. Astronauts to the space station. That was previously the U.S. was dependent on Russia, who was doing a good job, but charging kind of crazy money per seat. So as far, with SpaceX, the cost per astronaut dropped dramatically, and the money was went to jobs in the U.S.
And so he's using the SE to TE parent is what he's doing. He's using his SE to justify his idea through trying to convince everyone that this is the best idea. He feels responsible for letting everyone know this is the best idea. His problem is going to lie a lot in, well, maybe I got my SE wrong. When I got my facts wrong, when I gathered facts, I missed a lot of them, or I just got the wrong ones. And so he's going to have a problem with gauging what the actual market is as opposed to what he thinks the market is. You can see that with the flamethrowers. Like, it's a great idea, right? Personalized flamethrowers. But how many people have that much money to spend on a flamethrower? He missed the SE. It was a great gather, but he completely missed the practical application of that.
So that's why people think SpaceX is valuable. Tesla.
I mean, the annoyance, though, of like people holding it against you that you've had success, holding it against you that you have wealth, viewing billionaires as evil. And
yeah, that's so silly. Like, Elon's a strange person, and as an INTJ, I can see why. But like, he's not typical with what he's doing. He is like, he tiptoes the line with China, but I think that might be just because he knows that rigid system is in place, and he is very well equipped for following a rigid system. I don't know if he's a white hat or a black hat. I'm not trying to get into that, but there are a lot of people hammering him just simply for making money, and that's just dumb. Like, capitalism has afforded the most opportunity for everyone to rise ever in the history of ever, and so we need to keep on with that.
And you're not doing enough to give back. You have like the Elizabeth Warren thing that you haven't paid your fair share. I mean, that's it's.
But that's so silly. Like, that man pays more taxes than most of the country combined. Like, by himself, he pays more in taxes than most of the country combined.
That's got to be kind of aggravating.
Because like 60% of people don't even pay taxes at all. Like, they get a refund, and they don't pay.
Yeah, I think it's just important to understand like what is this wealth? It's not like I've got like some massive cash balance. My cash balances are very, very low, and at least until I sold stock, which is really the first time I've actually sold stock in any meaningful way, was this quarter. I simply had loans against my stock, so if Tesla and SpaceX went bankrupt, I would go bankrupt too immediately. So
it's not realized, is what you're saying. Yeah, it's not.
No, it's just like people. It's like I built these two companies, and it was extremely difficult to build them. Like massively painful and difficult. Rewarding too, but massively painful, difficult. And I didn't sell the stock in the companies. My sort of impression was that you shouldn't take money off the table, or you shouldn't take stock off the table and de-risk things. That a captain should go down, with their ship. So
very interesting. Like, he considers his companies as part of him, right? And so for him to divest from them is a very hard thing for him to do, because that is part of his self. That's not even part of his tribe. That's a really weird interaction right there. But that's what he's doing. He's seeing that as part of him, not really part of the tribe. Even though there are a lot of people that work at Tesla, there are a lot of people that work at SpaceX, but that is an extension of him. I worked hard to put this together. It was very difficult. I fought hard, long battles for this. It's very self. It's not very tribe. It's not we worked hard to put this together. We worked hard to achieve these goals. I worked hard for this. He seems to be very direct. He's not using a lot of words. Like, he's not using more words than is necessary to be a good guest in the show. So I'm very much picking up a organized ideas from him. I'm picking up a self from him. I'm picking up control, and I'm picking up direct. That is going to be INTJ all day. Ideas is going to be in. Organized means that it's an NI. Self means that it is going to be an I in. That might be a little bit confusing, huh? NI, when I said NI, that is the organized things is NI, whereas organized or organized ideas is NI. Organized things would be SI. Now, when I said that he is an I in, that is actually literally the I in the INTJ. He's very much self, that is I. He is very much ideas, that is in. He is very much control, that is T. And he is sorting. He's sorting things, right? The ideas. He's organizing them, and that makes him a J. And so from there we look at the direct and informative, and that deals with what position the third slot falls in. And because he is direct, that means that the third slot, the child slot, is the introverted slot, and that is going to be FI. So he's going to be an INTJ, just a regular INTJ, but he's going to be an NI, TE, FI, SE, and that's how that's going to work. So what we see from him is mainly, this is the idea. This is why I think that this idea is the idea. He's doing it for himself. He gives it to the tribe after he's done with it, but he's doing it for himself. He's very much in control of the situation. He very much follows rigid structuring, and he's direct. So I feel like this was a good type on him. I hope that I helped you understand a little bit better. Actually, let's go ahead and we still got a little bit of time. We're going to go ahead and look for some confirmation in the rest of this interview. Like, we're not going to get through the whole interview. It's an hour and a half long. So let's go.
So it's like, okay, like, I don't want to take money off the table, and then if the companies fail, then I'll be sort of enriched while investors suffer, and that does not seem right. So anyway, that's the reason
There you go. Right there. That's a confirmation right there. The idea was that if the companies fail, and then the supporting evidence,
while investors suffer, and that does not.
Or the idea was that investors would suffer from the supporting evidence.
Seem right. So anyway, that's the reason I didn't sell. Is I could easily have diversified and protected myself financially if SpaceX or Tesla went bankrupt, but I did not. And SpaceX and Tesla came very close to bankruptcy many times. Even when bankruptcy was literally weeks away, I did not sell stock. And then the companies became valuable. Not Tesla's value and SpaceX's value is not up to me. It's up to investors. And they decided Tesla was worth $1 trillion in the public market. So, and I own 20% of the company. So
you're not apologizing right now. You're not going to look into the camera and say, "I'm so sorry."
Look in the camera right now.
I was just trying to explain. Like, I don't think people necessarily understand.
They don't. Yeah.
That
He's very defensive right now.
This is not, some function of sort of hoarding or something. It's simply that, I own 20% of the company that became very valuable as decided by external investors. And so 20% of $1 trillion valuation is $200 billion. And I've said at various times that I think the stock price is too high, but the investors just ignored that.
The TE says that it's good.
I'm like, okay, I literally said it's too high. And they just kept making that price higher. So
I tell them our value is too high.
So anyway, so it's just that's. But like I said, this is not like my so-called wealth. It's not some deep mystery. It's simply what is my ownership percentage of SpaceX and Tesla, multiply that by the valuation. That's my net worth. That's super simple, and my taxes are super simple. And I have no, like I said, no offshore accounts, no sort of clever tax evasion or.
Here's the SE. I don't have any tax evasion. I don't have any offshore accounts. I don't have any of this. I don't have any of this. I don't have any of this. To support the idea that everything is transparent, right? That this is nothing but confirmation. He really is a very good example of an INTJ. INTJs tend to be this socially awkward. They tend to be focused on the SE, even though they miss a good bit of it. They tend to be very focused on making other people understand this idea. Like, why do you not understand this idea? You need to understand this idea. Everybody needs to understand this idea. This is the best idea fucking ever. Everybody should see this. That is very much a TE person. I know. So I'm good with this. I really do feel good about this. This is an INTJ, straight up, like no alternate, and it is an NITEFISE. And so I hope that I brought a little bit of understanding about how his mind works. I am not a professional. I am not making any diagnosis. This is my determination based off of a single interview in a random spot off of the type and characteristics that I see. But I do feel like I understand Elon Musk a little bit better now. I feel like seeing him and the examples of the different functions in him helps me to understand myself a little bit better now. I hope that it helps you understand yourself a little bit better. If you want to see more about the system and how it works, check out my other videos. I probably won't remember to link it up here because that's the way my stack is built. Also, we got some t-shirts coming dealing with this MBTI stuff. I hope y'all check that out. Sooner or later, there will be a link down below, but I don't think it's going to be today, to the store. So y'all check it out. To the crew, thanks for hanging out. I appreciate every single minute that you are here with me, and I am praying for you every single day. Till next time, this has been pittstake. Peace.